Alright, I am back with another video. I hope everybody's doing well. I thought I would do this one on the epic and amazing history of the Pingu Guppy, which really is just called the Pingu Guppy. And it's a very interesting story, and it is the only guppy that was ever featured in Time magazine, the actual national Time magazine. And you know, it's pretty cool that someone had created, through tons and tons of work, a brand new color in the guppy. Heretofore, pink did not exist. And this was done in the 60s and 70s. I think he was an ichthyologist named David Liebman. And so, you know, I'll go through this. It'll take about 12-15 minutes. I'll go over what they should look like, and some other varieties on them, because there are a few different types now. So yeah, basically you'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll kiss about 12 minutes goodbye, and you'll be happy. So these are two males, obviously, and the Pingus are a small guppy, although the females get very large, and they'll have pretty big drops of fry once they get full size. So what you want with the males is you want a it's like a yellowish to bronze dorsal and tail. There should be a slight sword at the bottom part of the tail, and the front part of the body will be like a metalhead, because apparently there might be some blue Moscow or something like that in these at this point. So and the most important part is the entire back part of the body, the caudal to halfway up the body, will be a really iridescent pink, and that's what we have with these. So let me lift this up a little bit. I'm going to stop the video and restart. We have a better view of the two males at this point, and you can clearly see the pink in the back part of the body, and it's kind of like a mood enhanced thing when they're in a good mood, I guess. The front part of the body becomes like a real dark blue metal. Really cool looking fish. So you could have dark blue, yellow, and pink all in the same fish. So it's very interesting. They're really unusual. Now apparently Mr. Liebman started this whole deal with one male that had just a upper caudal peduncle spot, and from that he just kept breeding them until he got selective breeding, until he got the pink to expand. And at one point he got the pink at the top and the bottom, and then apparently he did 62,000 crosses in the time it took to create this line. And he eventually came up with this. So it's amazing that he could selectively breed like that until he could get pink all throughout the basically the back half of the body. So there was a pretty good article in Time magazine way back when on these. Probably you could find it online. And the other thing that's kind of interesting is these were mostly being sold in the 70s, and these were going for $100 a pair, and that's 1970s money, not 2020 money, which is not anywhere near what a 1970 $100 bill was worth. So they were expensive fish, they were rare, they were a pretty big deal in the guppy hobby because it was a completely new color. So the females I'll show in another tank. I just wanted to isolate these guys so you actually see them. But the females will be basically colorless, a little bit of a bronze type body, and sometimes they get like a little bit of a blue iridescence at the back part of the caudal. And I think that's a newer development, because the ones he had did not have that. Now the ones he came up with also had a much longer dorsal, So probably from generations of inbreeding, they've become a smaller fish with a smaller dorsal and a smaller tail. Because his had also, besides the long dorsal, they had a very long tail. So the Pingus had disappeared from the hobby for probably about 20 years. So they kept going in Asia, and there's also a great article in FAMA magazine, June 1979, about the Pingus, and that's Freshwater and Marine Aquarium. It's a now defunct magazine that I think was bought initially or eventually by tropical fish hobbyists. So I kind of think that I was a little instrumental in getting these back in the hobby. Back in 2007, I made an arrangement with a wholesaler to import what he was calling pink ladies. So over the years, Pingus have gone under some really stupid names. Pink ladies, which, you know, they're not. Bumblebee guppies, all kinds of stupid names. They're just names people have given them along the way when they don't know what they actually have. So back in 2007, I was able to get the correct males and females. I started with 10 pair, and after about a year of refining the line, I started selling them on Aquabid, which got them back into the hobby. And I sold them to some other guys who also sold on Aquabid. So they became more prevalent, and they're easier to find now. So these are fish that you can find with breeders. You're not going to really find them in pet stores. You may find some males, but they won't have the females. Because when I got this going again back in 2007, because I knew what I was looking for, I could see that the females he was selling with these Pingus were the wrong females. So what I did is I had, like I said, I made a deal to get the 10 males and then 10 other females that I knew were actually Pingu females because they were just a colorless bronze female. And he was happy to get rid of them because I guess he figured it was a mistake coming in that way, because they were basically colorless females. So there's not too much you can do with that, I'm sure, as a like a wholesaler that tries to sell attractive fish. So I will add in some other tanks of them that I have and show some of the females. Now this tank is just something I'm trying to do. I was resurrecting my line after I culled pretty heavily, which I'll get to in a minute. So I saved one pair, and this female about 6 weeks ago had all these fry. So basically I'm going to resurrect most of the line out of one female. The male I moved on to something else. I'm using him for a cross. And she'll probably have fry again in a couple of weeks. And you can see it's pretty much a colorless fish. There's some blue in the dorsal, a little bit of blue in the upper caudal area, and a lighter blue at the very base of the tail. Now in this tank I have a bunch of, really I just have one pair. One of the normal males, females in there somewhere. She looks very thin, but she just had a bunch of fry, which I still have in here. So I'm going to raise the fry for a few weeks in here until I have another place to put them. And here's a little better look at that female. And in this tank I have some males growing out. They're young ones. I want to make sure that they get the right coloration. So I put a couple of females in there as well so they have someone to chase. And you can see they have the pink and the bronze colored tail, yellow, whatever. And pretty good. One of the females in here actually had some fry, so it's going to be a little more crowded. But there you get a little better look at what these fish look like. Really beautiful. So I also have something I got from my friend Tony Anderson. I'll see if I can get these guys on. They're in here somewhere, I promise. These are Pingus, but glass belly. So you can see right through the female. You can see if I can get a little closer. And you can kind of see the eggs in her stomach and the fry developing. It's pretty cool. Now these are not too far off from having some fry. So that'll be good because I can use some more. I basically have 2 males and 3 females in here, and so far so good. These are really cool looking. It's second time I've had glass belly ones. I actually bought them initially from Philip Shattuck back probably around 2010 or so, and I believe he's the one that developed these through multiple crosses. So these are something very cool, and some people get freaked out by them because you can see through them, and some people think they're cool. Now these are also Pingus that I got from my friend Tony Anderson about a month ago, I guess. They are slightly different than my regular lines, where they have a little bit more, I think, blue iridescence in the front part of the body. And these guys are zipping all over the place because they're going after the females. So they're a little hard to keep on the camera here. But the females are very close to dropping some fry, all 3 of them. They're very plain looking, as you can see. Little hint of blue at the base of the caudal where the tail starts. And the males have much more blue iridescence than mine. So I'm looking forward to working with these. There's also some blue in the tail. Very cool looking. I'm going to do some crosses once I get fry out of these. And I will show a couple other things, a couple other males that came out of my original Pingu line, which was initially why I had kind of culled down to restart the line a couple of months ago. And turns out I probably shouldn't have, because you'll see that some of them, 2 of the males have a pink spot, and which is pretty much how these whole line started. So I did save those because I'm going to use those in some crosses coming up, and I will get to them next. So these are the 3 males that I had culled a while back, because I could see in the initial growing out of them that they were starting to look a little different. They were getting just a different coloration at the base of the caudal, and you can see it on these 2 that it's more like a greenish blue. See if I can keep them on here. And the fins are a little bit of a clearer color, a little bit of like a smoke color. Now this male that is just a regular Pingu is really incredible looking. He has a much wider tail, much longer sword, and really beautiful pink coloration. It's a little bit lighter. So I'll try to isolate him on here if he cooperates. There we go. Almost got him. So basically you can see that the tail's much wider, and the dorsal is really nice. There's a little bit less of the yellow coloration in the tail and the dorsal, but I really like that. So I'm going to be using him with that 1 female that had 20 or so fry in the tank I showed earlier. Now the strange looking males, I'm going to just go with regular Pingu females, possibly the ones that have a little bit more of the darker blue coloration at the base of their caudal. So definitely cool looking. Now before I wrap up the video, these are the cross I made of it was Pingu males to full red female, one of the roebuck red females. And you can see I have an interesting looking mostly red fish. It's actually probably a bicolor, because I do see a couple of them have like white in the dorsal and a little bit of black in the body. So it's definitely interesting. At first I thought they were getting some kind of fungus on the dorsal. But then when I put the light overhead, I could see that it's just like a white spot. So it's very interesting. I don't know what I'm doing with these yet, because I do have some more growing out. 2 more batches that the female had. And hopefully I'll get some females. Or else, you know, I'll go back to regular Pingus with them. But definitely interesting. So I appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, just let me know. And figured I'd do a little bit of a different video, more on the actual history of the Pingus. And what disease did old dinosaurs get? Jurassic Parkinson's. Not good.